first thing is July the 16th, and it's you know what Ed's Fish is out here? Yeah, it's like we got a school like right next door, and then the top floor we got that whole level up there. So that's why I be on the lecture. And it's free. Like the first hour will be about the Bible Belt, then be like a little intermission, you know, feeding people a little bit. Then I'll be breaking down what critical race theory is. A lot of our people don't know what it is.
I'm Dr. Ashley Bachnight-Claybrook.
So we dealing with a doctor, right?
I have to say it. I would say it has to help. You know?
You got anything to back that up, or you just guessing?
I'm just guessing.
So sis, what is Bible Belt to you?
The Bible Belt is a series of states that heavily focus on Christianity as a means of political and social foundations for everything they do.
Good, because you should always know where you come from. You should always know history. You should always know what it is and what it ain't. And why people act the way they act now.
The Bible Belt, do you feel that it hurts black people?
Trying to like get rid of the history and get rid of certain things that were done during slavery, just certain things about our history in schools and stuff like that.
It's cultural, it's environmental, and it's effective.
Okay, you say it's effective now?
It can be positive and it can be negative. It just depends on your standpoint.
Preacher man, gotta wait your turn. Gotta get my brothers and sisters. They survive my only concern. This shit has gotta stop. They lock and pop everything they see. Behind the badge of police, they kill us with their knees. Nigga, please.
We look at systemic racism of, say, the school systems, the differences in the school systems, and looking at gentrification, looking at issues of textbooks. Even as simple as textbooks, and how race plays a part in how people are selecting certain parts for different races depending on where they are. You throw in economics with that as well. All that is tied into, if you can show a pattern of systemic racism, that is critical race theory.
I say critical race theory, it needs to be taught in school. I think just to know what was done to us, but like a lot of people don't know about slavery. They don't know what was done during their time.
I think it hurts because I think we should, know our culture and, not be racist. You know what I'm saying?
It's a psychodrama. Our minds, they wanna melt. We got it, take my nigga shit, burn that Bible Belt. This is psychodrama. Our minds, they wanna melt. We got it, take my nigga shit, burn the Bible Belt.
I can't let no hold a lie to me. I don't feel these rappers, all they lies is hypocrisy. Ain't no competition, ain't no rivalry. Niggas think I'm playing, I don't hear one word they saying. This shit light work. Think Muhammad one of us, he might lose his life first. Circle up and stay alert. Another cop just stretch the nigga. Yeah, demon, it's an exorcism. Watch I bless the nigga. You took that oath in blood, then you know I'm gon' get active with you. Fuck the opposition, I see vision. Let me paint the picture. Rappers claim they spit, and I ain't listening. Is in fact the fear. If revenge was a woman, now I scope that bitch like Jackie. So I walk, we gon' run the summer. It's gon' be historical. Thought they making plays, made them niggas call the audible. Ask who run this shit, but that question is rhetorical. Bitch, I'm the one, me cookies with the oil. I'ma get them crackers, hell, should've never kidnapped my family. I can't just do that, but I be the last nigga standing. Do a life sentence for my niggas, pray you understand me. I might put a switch on his Glock and call it Young Baby. How you real triggering on them dots? You a bird feeder, claiming he a demon. What's a demon to a cold leader? When he said something, I ain't hear him. This shit light work. It ain't on who got the gun, it's about who gon' up that fight first. I turn generation to a game change. Bring soldiers from the dead, just raised up the chains. Free shots, I'ma look like Aaron Jones when I run it. Never bite the hand that feeds you, you won't never get that hand back. He bitching about 10%, I don't wanna hear none of that. He dropping sword, fuck him, just make sure you get that cover back. Look around, he ain't with us, probably cause he never was. Now I chin like you with the angels for your brothers. Everybody wanna be Richard Porter, God kill him like Alpo. Play if he want, it's laying in the trunk like Lee Malvo. I'm a certified woman's ass nigga, I am not a toy. Hey, out with that hollow side, yeah, this the rim of court. Feel like Gullah Jack when I'm in Fayetteville, you feel your boy. Still up on my brain, still I think that's all that I do. The way I get that boy lost, they gon' start to call him Elroy. Fuck his game, pop out on them demons like I'm Hellboy.
One West, 125th Street. Look, y'all put y'all faith in presidents like they gon' change this country. Run the league and let y'all play cause y'all gon' make a money. Fuck Obama, he ain't come here on cargo slave ship. What the fuck he do for blacks in his administration? I'm waiting, bitchin' like a saint. Black, Hispanic, Native, they hate your ass the same. Paint Christ in they image, paint you as a slave. God ain't all love, scriptures say he hate. African soul niggas, they know we not the same. School to prison pipeline to get you off the streets. Put you in the cell toilet connected to the sink. Molested as a kid, she prostituted as a teen. The byproduct of Martin Luther King dream. They just took the yoke off, my nigga, we ain't free. We living bleak in these wastelands of poverty. If you don't know the truth, then the lie sound promising. Prophecy, gift and the curse. Dylan started killing, they was sitting in church. Black folk forgave him, man, this shit is absurd. You should never love your enemy, that shit ain't gon' work. Yeah, fuck dying on your knees, you better die in glory. Man, I joined the UPK, taught me the art of warring. I took a nigga life like mine to be recognized. I feel that pain every day, it can't be reconciled. Pops banging, my sister a prostitute. My brother got life, and somehow I still found the truth. War ready, no cowards, no excuse. Fuck reparations, you can't banish no open wounds. Blood on the leaves, body swing hung from a noose. I was on a run in Nashville and I found the truth. I called the school, class was being held by the shock on my life. I want to be a gangster like a cop. Do this for my brothers, real brotherhood. Everything we do, we got it out this book. My nigga, I can never be no African. UPK the only authorized acronym. I'm passionate about my brothers and sisters. We in hell, I ain't got nothing against them. That's another religion. If it ain't under your honor, Amy murdered by them and got a hug from your honor. That's the way out for a coward in my observation. They don't fear the Lord, they indoctrinated. Wolves in sheep clothing, Joe Osteen. Real priests bringing back black royalty. One West on my headpiece, ranking order. Can't let them trick me off the streets, I gotta raise my daughter. I got brothers at the border ducking ice agents. I got the name change, it was life changing. My family thought it was a game, pulling all black, they said I was going through a phase. It's more of us in jail than it was slaves. Chose by the Lord, we could never be the same. Soon as they born, the wicked go astray. They left the truth, they wasn't with us anyway. Niggas weak, they just saying anything to be truthful. We don't want no cowards anyway. Look, coronavirus, that's a plague. You don't get too much sleep when you waking up the dead. First camp, I cut off all my dreads. I took an oath when that oil hit my head. Niggas capping like they lids. I'm a priest, I never stick no fork in no pig. I was dead till I found out how to live. This brotherhood taught me how to be a man. the Christian church. Came back to my roots, I had to dig. A couple gaps I had to bridge. I got a rib, I'm married to this work. You wanna serve the Lord, he ain't in the Christian church.
Salakia for that. Let's get the Lord another hand. More time. Salakia. Yahweh Bashim Yahshua Brakathon and all the brothers. Yahweh Shema Lataf Bashim Yahshua all the sisters. It's the Friday night Lashawan Qadash class where we go over the Hebrew and the ancient Paleo and the Assyrian. And break down the linguistics of the Hebrew language, how to speak it, and you know what I'm saying, so that we can understand our culture a little bit better. So last couple weeks, we've been going over we went over a couple root words that we already know from, you know what I'm saying, breaking down the Lord's Prayer, breaking down the salutes, using those root words that we get from those things that we do every day, every week, since 1969, and then we learned how to use those things that we learned to pair it with these prepositions and these possessives that go before and after the root, so that we can form sentences and phrases, and learn how to, you know what I'm saying, pair these things and form complete thoughts. Then we also briefly touched on it's like everything go off. So we went over those things. We briefly touched on plurals, you know what I'm saying, how to turn words, singular words, like, for example, make it plural using pluralization suffix young. So we practice that. Tonight, we're gonna go over a couple of those things, to review, to refresh our memory from last week, and then we're also gonna go into being able to distinguish between the characters in the Assyrian group. So, for example, Slack, you think you could turn the TV a little bit, like toward this way, or not? It's more. I got it right here. But yeah, so we're gonna go over how to distinguish between these characters, because I'm sure brothers and sisters would agree that, you know, the Paleo Hebrew is pretty simple to understand. You know what I'm saying? Most High isn't the author of confusion. You know what I'm saying? So what he gave Adam to teach his people was very simple. But this Assyrian is, you know what I'm saying, as we went over before, it's essential for us to understand. Let me get it out the way. It's essential for us to understand because most of the documents, most of the tools that we use to read and understand the Hebrew is written in the Assyrian Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? That your oppressor, the so-called Jewish man, the Jewish man, he uses, or you'll see this Assyrian Hebrew in a lot of the documents that they read from, a lot of the documents that has our history, you know what I'm saying, recorded in it, and where we use to reference and learn the Hebrew. So that's why that's important. So we're going to get into really understanding and demystifying this version of the Hebrew, the Assyrian Hebrew. And, you know, not understanding it, like, you know what I'm saying, just looking at it off the top, it could be very intimidating because a lot of the characters kind of, you know what I'm saying, honestly speaking, a lot of characters look the same. You know what I'm saying? And so it's easy to get tripped up, but then it's also easy to get tripped up because 5 of these characters have an additional character that goes with it for if a word, or if it falls at the beginning or the middle of the word versus the end. So I got that in red so we can easily see it. But before we also, you know what I'm saying, for the past couple weeks, you know what I'm saying, a couple weeks ago, I know I went over, you know what I'm saying, this, as far as the Assyrian, we should, you know what I'm saying, want to practice at home. We practice in writing the Hebrew so that we are familiar, because what I'm about to go into today, if you haven't been putting in the diligence and practicing writing the Assyrian Hebrew at home, then this is going to be just a little bit more difficult to understand. But if you have, Lord willing, brothers and sisters, been practicing at home, you already have certain questions and certain things that, you know what I'm saying, that may be confusing, that may stick out to you. So we're going to go over that. Also, a couple weeks ago, I gave brothers and sisters a cadence to maybe help the Hebrew be easier to learn and remember. So I'm gonna just go over real quick. So we got ha, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, cha, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, ta, za, kwa, ra, sha, da. Now, you know what I'm saying, eventually, you know what I'm saying, really at this point, but eventually, as brothers and sisters practice and learn, get in class more, especially using that cadence and practice and writing at home, you should be able to know what these characters are without having the pronunciation up under it, right? So that just comes with practice and repetition. And then, well, I'm gonna get into that later probably. But yeah, just practicing repetition, you should be able to identify these offhand, like without even looking at the screen. That's an I. We got a Y right there. We got a ha. We got taza. We got ya, ka. Off the top of my head, sha. Just from practice, you know what I'm saying? So tonight, I'm just go over that, how we can, so hopefully by the end of the night, all the brothers and sisters who attend the class and who watch online, they'll be able to identify these things, these characters comfortably. So I'm gonna go ahead and erase this, and you know what I'm saying, feel free to, you know what I'm saying, reference your notes as much as you need to. And then, you know what I'm saying, once you get home or once you once class is over, once you got the free time, you know what I'm saying, instead of turning on Netflix or, you know what I'm saying, going out to the club, you know what I'm saying, just challenge yourself. Go to your notes and just practice what we're going to learn today. So we got, like we said earlier, we got a lot of characters in the Hebrew, or in the ancient Hebrew that look alike, right? So I'm going to put, first of all, let me do this real quick. Let me do this real quick. So just looking at your notes, and today I'm just be writing, you know what I'm saying, in the Assyrian strictly because of the topic. But, you know what I'm saying, just looking at your notes, let's see if we can try to identify each one of these characters by itself, right? So when we're reading, I'm gonna give y'all some, I'm gonna talk a little bit, give y'all some time to think and look at y'all notes. But, you know what I'm saying, on Saturdays when we do, what is it? The Salakia Sabbath service. Salakia. When we do the Sabbath service, we open up our Bible Hub app, which, you know, on the board from last week. But open up the Bible Hub app, and then all you see is the Assyrian, just kind of like in a row. It looks jumbled up, you know what I'm saying? It looks just like it's all you see is characters. And a lot of times, especially when you first start reading it, we kind of stumble and trip reading the Assyrian because we're trying to distinguish, okay, what is that, what is that, what is that, and then putting it together. So it makes it real tedious, right? So as a priest, right, especially as a priest and as a sister or mother, you know what I'm saying, raising up these children, it's important to be able to just be able to look and peep, or, you know what I'm saying, just automatically have it firsthand in the back of your mind what these characters are. So, what's good?
Last two characters are they together?
Last.
Okay.
Almost my curse. Salakia. And Baba could shot the water for that. If, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to try to write the characters very deliberate and dramatic so that we can make certain distinctions. So just let me know if something's not quite clear. And if you have any, you know what I'm saying, additional questions, feel free to throw it up in the chat. But any brother or sister in the chat want to give it a shot. And so, like, okay, so I'm going to start with this word right here, this word right here. 4 characters. I'm going to go ahead and just identify those real quick, just to see where we at.
I try it.
Go ahead, sis.
Lashawan.
Yeah, that's just him. Most time correct. So we got La. I'm writing different color. And so most time correct. Sis is absolutely correct. I'm gonna go ahead and write the pronunciation under the first word. If any brother or sister in the chat wants to, you know what I'm saying, throw it up in the chat for the last 3 characters, just to identify those, or, you know what I'm saying, if you want to give it a try, I'm gonna go ahead and write this real quick, and I'm gonna come back. We got La, Sha, Wa, Na. Right. So, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So, and this is how it will be written. It's backwards, right? Or it's right to left, because as we said, your oppressor got it backwards. The Lord had it right the first time. So it's right to left over here. So the oppressor's English looks backwards. right? So this is how it's gonna look. That's how it's gonna look in, you know what I'm saying, written in, translated in your oppressor's English. Right? But what we want to get into the habit of doing is identifying, like we're doing now, identifying by character and not spelling it in English. Because, for example, I'm gonna show you this. We got the word, English word cat, right? We'll actually put it in a different color. So we got the English word cat, right? Now, how do you spell cat? You don't have to raise your hand, just, you know what I'm saying. How do you spell cat?
C-A-T.
C-A-T, right? Simple enough to understand. But how do you spell C? The letter C. How do you spell the letter C?
There's no way to spell it, just a C.
Right, exactly. It's just and we understand it because that's the language we were indoctrinated with. It's just the letter C. You don't say C-E-E. You know what I'm saying? Try to spell it out the sound. It's just for pronunciation, right? But that's just the same thing with Lashawan, Qadash. That's not La spelled L-A. That's a La. That's just what it is. It's a La. The sound is La. So taking back our culture, we're just going to have to put that in our minds, that just identify these characters without having to, at first it'll, you know what I'm saying, be helpful to spell it in the English, of course, no sweat, but just identifying it as La, Sha, Wa, Na. Put it together, Lashawan. All right. But last three characters, right? I don't see anything in the chat. You want to give it a shot? Priest. Identifying the last three. So you gotta look at your notes. You know what I'm saying? You can go ahead and do that. But you can do whatever's comfortable for you. So I know you got a job to do. So if you want to do it from back there, okay.
So I was gonna put that it's a paper in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See if I can figure it out.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'm using the words that I'm using on purpose, right?
The first. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, do your thing. I'm just talking while you do your.
Okay, the first one is qua.
Okay. We got qua. Feel like what's that show called? Wheel of Fortune. We got qua.
All right. And the other one, is Za.
Close.
Da.
Closer. Now let me ask you a question. Why did you say Za? You said Za first, right?
Yeah.
Oh wait, Salakia. You was exactly. You said Da second.
Yeah, second I said Da.
Salakia, you was absolutely correct with that second. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. But Most High Christ. But let me ask you though, why did you say Za first?
Oh, because I looked at the symbol and I thought that's what it was.
But why did you think that? It's just practical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it look alike. Yeah, it just looks similar. That's why. So this is why we're going through this, because a lot of the characters look similar, and because of that, it could be discouraging to learn this Hebrew or using the Assyrian. But you know what I'm saying? It's real easy. They just look similar. So you want to do the last one too?
And shot.
Most High Christ. Give that brother a hand. All right. So we got Lashawan, and then Qadash. As we should know, this is Lashawan Qadash, right? The Holy Tongue. So a lot of these things, a lot of these characters, just to reiterate, look alike. A lot of them look alike. So you'll see, I'm gonna just put some, you know what I'm saying, not necessarily a word. So then we'll see things like, and then we'll see like, if I'm using everything down. So all of these characters just looking side by side, especially the ones that look spot on one another, like very, very close. It's just very intimidating seeing all this. Like, I don't know what, you know what I'm saying? I remember when I first came in, I didn't know what the difference was. It just looked the same, right? But they're not, you know what I'm saying? Well, let me erase this. They're not. They're actually very different characters, right? Very different. They have certain distinguishing characteristics that, you know what I'm saying, just by pointing out these characteristics, it'll make it, you know what I'm saying, you'll understand that these characters aren't, you know what I'm saying, they don't look the same at all, right? So we got, so just looking at your notes, right? Do we know what this character right here is? This one right here. Well, let me give it a little space. I kind of wrote it a little sloppy. So we got that. We got whatever this is, and then we got whatever that is. Right. I'm saying whatever that is for a reason. So do we have an idea what this character right here is? No, you had to him first. Yeah. Most High Christ, get that brother in. That's absolutely correct. And we're gonna come back and break it all down. Right. So we got a Yah. Just off of giving your best guess. What would we say this is? Well, Most High Christ, get that sister in. Wow. And brothers and sisters online, you know what I'm saying? If you want to give the whole line a shot from right to left as we go through this, go ahead, throw it up in the chat. I don't see no. Oh, yeah, we got a couple people up in the chat. If y'all want to go ahead, throw your answers up in the chat. Feel free. You know what I'm saying? You don't gotta wait you don't have to wait for me to acknowledge you. Just go ahead, throw your answer up in the chat. Salaki. Okay, so we got the next one, right? We got. Boy, you want to try to Salaki? You want to try to identify that one? The third one.
Is it Zah?
Yeah, I'm right. Get that brother in. Zah. So we got Yah, Wah, Zah. Now, this is where it might get a little bit tricky, right? So we got this character right here, and I want to give you a hint. You want to give it a? Oh, you got it. You just have to hand it. Okay, go ahead.
Is it Kyle?
But why?
With the
Okay, well,
you use at the end of the word.
I'm right. Get that brother a hand. Right. N. Very important. What'd you say, sis?
So I'm thinking the same thing.
I
didn't catch it.
So we got this character right here, and excuse my handwriting again. You know what I'm saying? It's just sometimes brothers' penmanship can look. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got a different penmanship. So you know what I'm saying? If you can't distinguish it based off the penmanship, don't beat yourself up. It's partly my fault. You want to give it a shot, sis?
Is it not?
Which nod? I'm not gonna tell you whether you're right or wrong. Oh, okay. Most High Christ. Get that sister hand. Oh, I tried to discourage you, but you had it. So we got nah, right? Nah. At the end. So for space, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna just put E for N. Or you know what I'm saying? If it's at the beginning or if it stands alone, then I'll abbreviate it just for space sake. So we got and brothers and sisters online, let me know if you know what I'm saying, you can see these colors, if you could hear me okay, if there's any issues in the chat, I would greatly appreciate it. So we got wa, ya, wa, za, ka, na. So the last two, this the one that gets people. This the I'm gonna lie. This the one that got me the most. In the mission. She should be 12 now. Right on the edge. Oh no, it's on me. What was that? Okay, so I think I gave y'all enough time to see y'all notes. And, so we got these last two characters. Who that talking about? Me. So Abon, you want to give it a try?
The first one is Rob.
Okay. You gonna knock both of them out, or you want to?
This will be last.
Okay, you want to give it last one a shot? I'm not gonna tell y'all if y'all right or wrong though. You gonna give it a shot? Yeah, I see brothers been studying, so now I gotta try to discourage y'all a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you can disagree with him too. Like if you think that what he said was wrong.
I would say the first one looks like it's supposed to be 5. But the line,
No, go ahead, break it down. You got it.
Because an Assyrian has that line beneath as well, so it's
right.
It's not 5.
Okay. Okay.
I think it's wrong. I think he's right.
The first one.
Right, sir.
What about the? You want to get a second one to try?
I feel like dumb.
Son of Christ. Both of y'all absolutely correct. Yes, it is again. Son of Christ. So is it, wait, before I go on, is it the first one or the ending? Is it the first route or the ending route?
First.
Trick question. There's no ending route.
Oh, you're right. Second.
It's a lot here. So we got Rob.
Oh,
and then we got somebody to. Okay, Slacky. I see y'all. I see you up in there. Let me see. Ryan Dye. Sis is absolutely correct. Yeah, that's just the hand. And the water for your participation too. Most High Christ. So all three of y'all was absolutely correct. So we got Ya, Wa, Za, Ka at the ending of a word, a Na at the ending of a word, Ra and Da. Now, what would, let me see how I'm going to ask this question. I'm just keep it simple. So like, I don't think going through it, I don't think any brother or sister had trouble identifying. We might have took a little bit of time, second guessed ourselves, but I don't think brothers and sisters had very much trouble identifying each character, because seeing it all together, it could be very intimidating. Like seeing it in a word, you know what I'm saying, all mixed up, and you're on the spotlight, especially for the priest. You got to read the Hebrew during the Sabbath service. It could be very intimidating. You got the Hebrew scholars usually, you know, on Sunday on either side of you. You know what I'm saying? Intimidating. You know what I'm saying? You're looking at these words, and then, but you know, if you just, you know what I'm saying, if you've been studying and if you just take a look, these are very different characters, right? So I'm gonna take so Yah is pretty easy. It's so whenever you see that Yah, like I'm gonna write the Lord's name in the Assyrian, right? So we got, for example, Yah, Ha, Wa. We got Yahweh, right? Let me make this a little bit more clear. Right? Let's see if I can see it. So that little, it's the smallest character, right? It's very tiny. Up at the top of usually it floats at the top of the word. So if you see that, you already know that that's a ha. Very easy to distinguish. It's, you know what I'm saying? Very tiny, and it's like a small, you know what I'm saying, curve, right? So that's easy to identify. But then we got these two right here. Wa and Za can be very confusing seeing them, especially like if they're not side by side. Like if they are side by side, they tend to be easier to distinguish. But you know what I'm saying, what if you just see like, so we got in the Hebrew word the water, right? So we got the water. Oh, I shouldn't have told you. Yeah, a different word. Salaki. So we got this word right here. So let's try to identify these characters right here. You know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and try to identify these characters right here. Right? So we got 3 characters. You know what I'm saying? Real quick. Where do you know what I'm saying? How do you tell the difference between these characters? Right? So anybody want to try to give it a try in the class?
How do you tell the difference?
Or we just identify them real fast.
Oh, okay. First one, raw.
Uh-huh.
I'll do all of them?
Oh, you want to do all of them, or you want to just?
I'll probably give them time to type it in.
Okay, no sweat.
Delay.
Most time first. Taking this, sip of my bread. But the point is, right, a lot of times, like we can, you know what I'm saying, when we're looking at our notes and we're looking at the page or whatever, we can see, you know what I'm saying, especially like side by side, we can see the differences. But when it's game time, it's not always that easy, right? So now we're taking a word that we probably never seen before, right? I don't know what this word is. I don't know what this word means, right? And that happens a lot during Sabbath service. I don't know what these words is. So.
I'll answer whenever you're ready.
Okay, no sweat. I don't see any answers in the chat. You go ahead, sis. You said the first one was a what?
Rough.
Okay.
No.
Right. So get that sister hand. That's absolutely correct.
Is that a song?
Yes, it is the Zion. The Most High in Christ. So let me ask this question, right? So why do we call, let me erase this real quick. Why do we call this a wah? Why do we call this a wah and not a zah? How do we know that that's a wah and not a zah?
I don't know how to describe it. It just has it's a curve, it's a little curve.
Right. So which one you talking about? You talking about the wah or zah?
On the right, the first one.
The wah. So right. It's like okay, so even though, like, especially in the, like, I don't know if you got your the Bible Hub app. Blue, should be a blue book with I think a white cross on it. I know you got Bible Hub. Well, if you look at it, if you look at it on Bible, especially if you got an Android, Android looks a little bit different, a little bit less. There's a little bit less detail than Android, and I know because I'm an Android user. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But if you look at it on Android, it's a little bit tougher to distinguish. It looks a little bit different than it does on iPhone. But you know that this is a wah, like the brothers and the sisters said. And not a zah, because it's like so we got the yah is just a straight, and small. At 90 degrees, right? The wah, and I grouped them like this on purpose, right? So the wah, it's a little bit longer than the yah, and it's slightly off of the 90-degree angle. So it's not quite a 90-degree angle like the yah is. It's got that curve at the end, but it's more like a 45-degree angle. It's still short, slightly. So it's short, right? And instead of the 90-degree angle, it's a 45-degree angle, right? Now, the zah, similar to the wah, I'm gonna call it the yah short. So we got the mid-length, 45-degree angle. The zah is also mid-length, slightly at a 45-degree angle. But if you look at the characters on the diagram that you have in your notes, and on Bible Hub or in the concordance or in the Bible dictionary, you'll see that the zah slightly has a tail at the top, whereas, I'm just write this out real quick. So you got, let me see if you can see this real quick. It's a lot. Yeah, I see it's a flare on So we got the Za and the Wa look similar, mid-length, 45-degree angle, but the Za has a slight tail. Where the Wa looks like that, the Za has that little addition on the end, right?
Like a T, like a slanted T.
Right. And it's good to make these small identifications. So like when you see it and you get tripped up, you could start looking at those characteristics. Like, okay, this looks like I'm gonna move on to the next two, right? These two look familiar. These two look almost identical, right? So it's like, okay, I'm not sure if it's a na or a ka, right? But where you don't know if it's a za or a wa, do you start looking at the detail? Like, okay, does it have a tail? Does it not have a tail? If it has a tail on the end, then it's a za. If it doesn't, if it's just that 45-degree angle, mid-length, then it's a wa, right? So eventually you start to think like that, then it becomes second nature. So you can just flow through it and just know what each character is and just read it like a word, right? So like, for example, like the example we gave earlier, we got the word cat, right? Now it's a simple word as adults, you know what I'm saying? We've seen these things over and over. We've been to school, we graduated, you know what I'm saying? But at first it wasn't so easy. When we was learning, we was doing the same thing we doing now, right? We like, okay, that's a C, that's an A, that's a T. We know that this word or this letter makes this k, a, t, and then you had to identify it, and then you put it together, right? So it's the same thing with the Hebrew. Like the scriptures say, what is it? In Matthew, you know what I'm saying? We got to become as little children, right? So it's basically the same thing, right? And just like English, or just like any language, you got some characters that look the same. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes our children still do it today. You know what I'm saying? We get our P's confused with our Q's, our D's confused with our B's. But then, you know what I'm saying, you go through it with your child, like, okay, well, this is what this looks like. A D and a B look similar, but, you know what I'm saying, a D is a backwards B. Right. So you do the same thing with your child. So, you know what I'm saying, just to give a little background on why, you know what I'm saying, so we can relate it to the language we speak today, make it a little easier. So, moving on, we got the ka and the na, right? Both come at the end of a word. So that makes it a little bit more, you know what I'm saying, confusing if you're not familiar with the language. Now, we've been studying, so we're a little bit more familiar than most folks, but, you know what I'm saying, coming right out the gate, if you're a young sister or young brother who just came in the truth, it might be a little bit confusing, slightly. So we got the ka and the na, slightly. The ka and the na at the end, they're long characters, right? They're long. Both of them are long. And we good.
Like however long they bigger sevens.
Right. Most High Christ.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it, and I'm glad you just said that, because all of these kind of look like a seven. It's all of them have similar shapes, so that could, you know what I'm saying, trip brothers up. So like, it's great that you made that distinction. It's like, okay, these are the ones that look like this. So how do I not get tripped up? You see, there's a lot of them. Right. 4, 5, 6, 7. Dang. Good night. You got 7 of them that look like a 7. You know what I'm saying? It's like to trip brothers up and discourage them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm through with this. I'm about to go turn on Netflix, get naked. You know what I'm saying? It's like, get comfortable, and, you know what I'm saying, give me something to eat. Why? Forget this Hebrew, but, you know what I'm saying, we make this distinction. So we got the ka at the end. It's a long character, right? It looks like a 7. Let me see. So you got two parts of it, the top part and then the tail, right? Or the top part and then the bottom part. So if you look at it, there's no tail. Just like it is with the Zod. There's no tail on it, right? And that's going to be important for later. So long, no tail. Right? For both of them. Okay, so how do we, so both of them are long and both of them don't have a tail like the Zod, then how do we distinguish? Anybody want to? Go ahead, sis.
The Ka is more of a straight tail, and the not more of a curved tail.
Most high Christ, get that sister hand. Absolutely correct. And I made it, again, I made it dramatic just for visual purposes, just so I don't confuse with my penmanship. But if you're looking at the Bible Hub, it's a slight indentation on the knot, right? So you got a slight indentation on the knot. All right. So whereas the Ka is straight. So what else can we identify on this between these two? There's one other thing. You don't give it a shot, Proof?
One shorter than the other.
Like what you mean, one shorter than the other? Okay, no. Okay, so that's my bad.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at the Bible Hub, they pretty much the same length.
Okay.
Right.
Where's
Oh, what's the good?
what are you saying at the Bible on the Bible Hub?
Oh, okay, Salaki. So if you open it, it should have a list of options, right? Let me see where you're at. Let me see. Let me get there. Oh yeah, there we go. There. So when you open it up, that should be the first screen that pops up. It should be those 6 boxes. The last box that says interlinear, and then it'll take you to Genesis, or no, it should take you to New Testament, where it's the Greek. You can just go to the top part. It should tell you the where we at? Up there, the book, chapter, and verse. You just go all the way to the top, and any book that's in the Old Testament, because it's written in Hebrew, right? And if you click on any book in the Hebrew, it'll show you these characters, right? So if you come across these characters, so we got both of them are long, both of them don't have a tail. The Na has a slight indentation where the Ka is straight. One more thing that you'll see, I'm gonna go ahead and just give it to you for time's sake. Let's see how much time we got. Oh, go ahead, sis.
I was gonna say the top part above, the very top part, one shorter than the other top.
Exactly. Most High Christ, get that sister in. Absolutely correct. So the knot is slightly, the top part, this part, as opposed to that part in the cock, slightly shorter. So we got not only is it indented slightly, but it's got a shorter top. Right. And this one got call it a hat. A short hat, long hat, right? So now when you come across these words,
I was gonna say to make it easier, probably I would say the Ka, I would say long, straight, long, and then for Na, short, curved, long.
Okay, most High Christ. Yeah, however you gotta put it in your notes to, you know what I'm saying, help your understanding. Go ahead and do that. Like whatever, you know what I'm saying, stands out to you, whatever helps you to visually identify these things and separate them one from another. By all means, if you see something that, you know what I'm saying, I don't, you know what I'm saying, that I'm not, you know what I'm saying, bringing out, or that's something that stands out to you, you know what I'm saying, it'll help you. You know what I'm saying? So what you said was exactly right. So we'll give you a second to get these down. And this is just, you know what I'm saying, this is helpful for right now. This is something, you know what I'm saying, it has to be done, right? Distinguishing between these characters. But once you do it one time, once we go through it one time, then it's something that's just going to be in your mind off top. It's just going to already be, you already going to have that understanding. Where it's like, you can easily make these distinctions, right? So we got the da and the ra, right? So unlike the ka and the na, these are a little shorter. So they're not as short as the ya, but they're not as long as the ka and na. So we got medium length on both. And they both got that 7 shape, right? But the distinction between the da and the ra, you got that. So the ra is round on the end, right? There's no indentation, right? So you got, and then the da, it has the end of it slightly. The end of it comes out slightly. So okay, so perfect example. So as we said before, if you're looking at an Android versus an iPhone, your iPhone's probably gonna look like this for the dot, right? But Android is not gonna have that much detail. It's just gonna be like that. The ra on, you know what I'm saying, depending on what device you got, Android is just gonna be a box. The ra on iPhone is gonna be a little bit more rounded off, right? So ra is gonna be rounded off. The da is gonna look like a ra, but it's gonna have that slight indentation, right? So these are just, you know what I'm saying, simple things to be able to, it's good to look at these things side by side so that when you see them when they're not side by side, then you can just flow right through it. Like, okay, I know what that is. I know what that is. I went through it, so I don't have to stutter. You know what I'm saying? Or you could stutter less. Because in the beginning, I ain't going to lie to you, you're going to stutter and stumble a little bit. So that's just learning, right? So, y'all good on this, right? I could go ahead and race and go into the next. So you need, I don't know.
I was trying to see how it looks in my hand.
Okay, no, so yeah. So you got, okay, if you go to Leviticus 23, right? It repeats because it's talking about Moses. You know what I'm saying? Or the Lord speaking to Moses, telling him what to tell the people about the holy convocations, right? So it'll be a repetition. You already there? Slakia, Bon, you got a sword with you over there? You need one? You mind? Or you got it on your phone, right? You mind grabbing scripture for me? Just Leviticus 23. And if you we'll just let me read. Let me know you got this, sir.
You going from the top or?
Let me get there with you, Salaki. And this is what was I gonna say? This is a real foundational scripture. It's real easy to be able to. It's a good scripture if you're trying to learn in Hebrew, right? You can start from the top. I'm gonna break down why. You go ahead, Bob Kasha, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto to Moses saying.
So that first part is very pivotal for like learning the Hebrew, because you'll notice that since this is the Lord talking to Moses, it says, read that again, Bible Shop.
Come. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying.
You'll see that a lot. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, over and over. So you got it in verse 1, and then you got it in verse 9, and then you got it in all through the scripture. As you go on, verse 23, as you go on, 26, it just repeats that over and over and over again. So you'll get used to seeing certain words and certain characters side by side. If you're in the let me go to the Bible. It says,
Oh my gosh, the Android sucks.
yeah.
This is really difficult.
Yeah, let my Androids live, man. I'm stubborn. I'm slacky. I'm stubborn. I'll never get an iPhone. Well, let me not say that.
So now I'm gonna learn the characters for the Android, so we can understand.
You feel me? So if you're looking at it, so you got in the Hebrew, it says Wayad Debar Yahweh al Mashah La Amar, right? And it says that over and over and over and over and over again throughout Leviticus a lot, but especially in Leviticus 23. And that's the one that we read for the feast days, right? Because it's a list of the feast days. Right, so you got the first word, right? So I'm good to erase this, right?
Concept.
Okay, so I'm the water priest. Yeah, probably you 12.
Okay.
So Leviticus 23, verse 1, you got Wa Ya Da Bar. You got right. So Wayadabar Yahweh, meaning and the Lord spoke. The Lord spake in the all like English, but the Lord spoke. You know what I'm saying? And as we go through this, I'm gonna also give you, we're gonna come across some more root words. So we got wa, which you know what I'm saying, looking at our prepositions and possessive, you know, wa means what? The preposition wa. And, right. Most time correct. So we got and, wa, and we got the root word here, the bar. So that root word means speak, talk, right? So the bar, which is a da, ba, and a ra. Remember on the end of root words, we drop that ah sound, which your oppressor would call a vowel. You would drop that ah sound. So it wouldn't be da, ba, ra. It would be the bar at the end of the root word, right? So you got and speak, or in this context, in Old Quaker English, spake, the past tense, right? The Lord spake or spoke, which is what we would say in modern English. And then we know that this is a name, right? You got Yah, Ha, Wa, Ha. We know that is Yahweh, right? So, Yahweh. And the Lord spake. You know what I'm saying? So looking at these characters side by side, you got, you know what I'm saying, all of these can look confusing. It's like confusing. It's like it. These can look confusing looking side by side, but just making these distinctions Now, even okay, so like we was talking about the difference in between the phones, right? Because you know what I'm saying, your oppressor is the devil, and his technology is trash. So we got on these different devices that look slightly different, right? So it looks like this, right? The Yah, because we know that that's a Yah. Most on Christ. See, he got the whole breakdown, man. Get out of here. I'm trying to bring the two sticks. I'm trying to bring the two sticks together. You already crazy. So you got the Yah, right? That's how your Yah gonna look if you got a Android, because your oppressor's the devil, right? But if you got an iPhone, it's gonna have, you know what I'm saying, a couple more details, right? But, you know what I'm saying, if you understand the details that we wrote down earlier, we know what about the Yah? Off the top of our heads, what do we know about the Yah? Yeah, like just by looking at it, like the visual, how it looks, compared to all the other characters.
Like the upside down comma. Upside down comma.
Yeah, right. Right. That's what I was looking for. It's the smallest one. And you know what I'm saying, a comma, you was right too. A comma is short, right? So even though whether it has the top or the hat or whatever you want to call it, whether it got that on top or not, you know that that's a Yah because it's the smallest one. So, you know what I'm saying? Just making these distinctions, it makes no matter what you got, iPhone, Android, you know what I'm saying? It's like what they say, neither iPhone nor Android, you know what I'm saying? Whatever you got, you'll be able to make that distinguish. You'll be able to make that difference. You'll be able to distinguish the Yah, right? So you got Wayah the Bar, Yahweh. Let me see if there's any more on that. Probably give one more example. Nah, I'm gonna leave it right there. Right? So that makes sense, right?
Concept.
Okay, most high first. I'm gonna let me see what we got online. Am I good to erase this? I need a little bit more time. Okay, more time.
I got it in my Android.
Most high Christ. So next up we got. So I'm gonna go. So I'm gonna use the example that the sister gave earlier, right? So we was talking about the rock, right? And just briefly, so you got the Salaki. We got the rock. We already know that's a rock. And then you got this. I'm trying to slow down. So we got, how do we know? Okay, so first of all, make sure. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and knock it out. So we got a rock. We got that right there. Whatever this is, right? Whatever this funky character is. So we know what this is, right?
Concept.
You want to give it a shot?
Yeah.
Most high Christ, yes, it's the hand. That's the box, right? So we got the rod and the box. Now, how do you know that this isn't a rod? Yeah, how do you know that that's a box and not a rock?
House.
So
when you got the house.
Okay, most high Christ. That's a little deeper.
Sorry.
But most high Christ.
That's how I remember it.
Okay, so like looking at it, you can tell that that's a house,
Like
especially on the Android, right? Let me see what the box looks like on the Android. Okay. So let me ask it like this: in comparison to the rock or the dot, let me put the dot here. comparison to the da and the ra, how do you know that that's a ba?
Because of the alignment.
Right. Simple enough. Right. So.
How's the foundation?
Right. Most high first. Okay, I see you. I see you. So you like, it's like a, you know what I'm saying, look like a little hangman thing, right? That's just person, you know what I'm saying? It got the little foundation on it, and so it's like that 7 shape with the little, I don't know what to call it. What's self-explanatory? Let me just start in the red so we can just see it. So, simple enough. That's how you can tell. That's not a rock or a dot, because it's got a little platform, a little foundation, right? So, all right, so let me throw this curveball at you real quick. So we got that. Now, what are we looking at here, Rick? So we got the ra, the ba. We already looked at the da. Now these, let's see. What are these? Let's identify these characters real quick. So we're gonna give it a shot for let's see if there's anybody on the chat. I think I'm the only one online right now, watching class online. So we got, what's this? Looking at your notes. Well, let me write it a little bit better. Do a little bit better job. But yeah, iPhone-ians up in here. There's a lot here. Let me stop. You want to give it a shot of fun? Or sad?
What's that? Is it Ma?
No, but I see where you're going with it. I see where you're going. But we're going to address that. So let me write a Ma. First of all, which one? Which Ma you talking about?
Yeah, which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, the one in the beginning.
Okay. So I see where you're coming from with that. So we got this Ma.
Oh, Slocky. My bad. My bad.
No, you okay? What's good?
It's a thigh.
Most High Christ. That's exactly right. Exactly right. So this is a thigh. Now, with you saying that, right? Because at first we thought, because I ain't gonna lie, I had to do exactly what, you know what I'm saying, what we're talking about right now. I had to do this myself because I was confused. I was discouraged. I was confused looking at the Hebrew. I'm like, these look a little bit too much alike. But, you know what I'm saying, how after you realized that wasn't a Ma, how were you able to make the distinguish between the two? Make how were you able to make the difference between the two? Like, what's the difference, right?
The Ma is more like a circle.
Almost
like an old circle. Yeah.
Almost, right? And then the thought.
It's more like an open circle. Like how you got it. It's like a horseshoe.
Right. Yeah. So it's like the Ma is a little bit more closed. It's got that opening right there, but then this is all the way open, right?
Right.
So again, just like looking at these things side by side, right? It just makes it easier to be able to just flow right through this thing, right? So moving on to the next one, we got these two characters. You said what?
I don't get that.
Okay, no sweat. So what you want to identify both of these characters?
Ka?
Is it a okay? So
CHAA? I'm saying I sound that right?
no, or you're almost right. So earlier, okay, so we say in the alphabet, right? So you got the ka, then you got the ha, right? So which try that real quick. Ha, like you. Yeah.
I got an H part, so I'm making ka.
Yeah. So. So are you saying? And I'm trying not to confuse. I'm trying to confuse myself too. So are you saying this is a ka or a ha?
Ka.
Okay, most time correct. You're absolutely correct. I just want to make sure we was on the same page. So this is a ha. So if this is a ha, not to be confused with the ka, then what is this?
Ha. Ha.
Most time correct. Get us ahead. So we got the ha, then you got the ha. And this is where the pronunciation becomes a factor, right? Because you got the ka that we talked about, and we have the tendency to, like, you know what I'm saying, just use it loosely. Like for example, my name is called Chazat, but you know what I'm saying, brothers who are comfortable, sisters who are comfortable, we'll just say call Chazat. We'll call Officer Karab, or we'll call, like I just did, we'll call Officer Karab, we'll call him Officer Karab. And when we're making these distinctions, we have to, you know what I'm saying, make sure we're pronouncing it correctly so that we don't trip ourselves up. And then we also got the ha. So if you're having a tough time pronouncing that ha, because you don't want to confuse it with the ka, but you also don't want to confuse it with the ha as far as pronunciation. So you got ka, you have ha, and then you have ha without the grit, the strength. Ha is a strong character, right? It's a strong pronunciation. Ha. You got ha, right? And we'll get into it later. Well, I'm gonna say that for later. But so you got the ha and you got the ha, right? So as far as the, you know what I'm saying, as far as the character itself, the way it looks, you know what I'm saying, you can tell. Okay, so what does this look like right here? I'm gonna see if we can. So we've seen this. I guarantee we've seen it before, just not in this context. You got something?
Yeah, it look like the pi symbol.
Right, exactly. Looks like the pi symbol that you will see in, you know what I'm saying, math class. 3.14. 1592654. You know what I'm saying? Something that looked like, well, I think, did it have that little opening in math? I think if you have I think in the math class, I think it did have that opening. It might have, it might not have. But this is how you can identify between the two characters, right? They both look like the pi symbol, right? They both look like the pi symbol, no sweat. The obvious difference is the ha has the opening, is an open pi symbol. The ha is a closed pi. So, or the ha is the closed and the ha is the open slot. So, easy enough, right? We ain't got to spend too much time on that. Okay, most time correct. Yeah, I can remember. It's been a while since I had to do the presses math. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of us have been out of school for quite some time. Unless you got kids, then we're going right back to school. You know what I'm saying? But pretty much the difference that you could distinguish. And this is how you know that everything starts from the Hebrew. Now, if we got, we got the the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about the book from the Yale scholars called Biblical Hebrew, right? We should have it. It should have been here today, but you know what I'm saying, again, the press is the devil, and his malfunctioning technology delayed the order. So supposed to be here earlier this week. Probably won't be here till next time we have Lashawan Qadash class. But if you go to page 3 in the Biblical Hebrew, your oppressor will tell you. So it's not us. You know what I'm saying? We're not just some crazy black people screaming in class, screaming on the corner. Your oppressor will tell you that the Hebrew is the oldest language. If you open the book, go to page 3, it'll say it right there, right? And that's how you know that, because all the characters that you see in your oppressor's language resembles the Hebrew, right? So in their mathematics, they got the pi symbol from the cha and the ha, right? If you look at this character right here, I don't know if you know what I'm saying, brothers and sisters saw, you know what I'm saying, in Greek culture, are familiar with Greek culture, but this, I believe, resembles the theta, right? This the thought, and that's Greek. That's a Greek character, right? Well, that's what they would lead you to believe, but they got it from the oldest language there is, the most ancient language there is, and it's practical because, you know what I'm saying, the Lord chose us, man. The Lord chose us, and this is the language that He gave us. And your oppressor took it from us. You know what I'm saying? The ba, they use this character, you know what I'm saying, for their little games and all of that. But point being, all of these characters that you'll see as you get more familiar with the language, you'll start to see it in all your oppressors' culture. And it just shows what type of oppressor culture they is. And how they tell you that your language is too ghetto, too rough around the edges. You too ghetto, you know what I'm saying? You too rough with the way you speak. You too aggressive. Your culture too much. And then as soon as you put down your culture, they come and pick up your culture right behind you. So, okay, it's just something to keep in mind as we look at these things. And you know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing, I'm gonna say this too, like ain't nothing our oppressor can tell me about my culture that's gonna discourage me. Because like we just said, they'll tell you to put down your culture and then they gonna steal it from you, right? They gonna tell you your black is disgusting and make you bleach your skin, and then, you know what I'm saying, they gonna go get a tanning beds and lay out in the sun, you know what I'm saying, and risk and die of skin cancer. They gonna get out there and get sunburned, turn bright red, trying to become black like you, while they telling you your black is ugly. You know what I'm saying? Our long hair, our braids, you know what I'm saying, our beards. They gonna tell you to cut your beard and cut your hair, and then that I saw something that, man, not to get too far off topic, Salaki, but I saw something that it just disgusted me, man. It made me laugh, but it disgusted me because you know what I'm saying, I saw this heathen. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get banned, so I'm gonna be very discreet. But I saw this heathen nation. He went to the barber shop with this long stringy hair, this straight stringy hair, and he had the barber put all this goo and this garbage in his head to make his hair go from straight and stringy to kinky. So he had him put this goo in there, knot it up with the Bantu knots, and then let it harden, let it dry, stiffen up, and then take the Bantu knots out and pick it up so that now he went from long, stringy hair to kinky, like an afro, like we see these brothers and sisters got in here. So, man, it ain't nothing your oppressor could tell me about our culture to make me put this culture down, man. Because as soon as you put it down, they gonna pick it right up behind you. Slacky, let me get back on where we at. We're gonna look at. Okay, so let me go here real quick. I should have started with. I wanted to start here, but you know what I'm saying. We're gonna hit it real quick. So, as we've been discussing, right, there are 5 characters to keep in mind, right, to watch out for, that change, whether they're at the beginning the beginning or the middle of a word, or at the end, right? So you got the ka, you got the ma, the na, the pa, and the taza. So 5 characters to keep in mind.
What's only in the Assyrian?
It's like, see, you got
It's only in the Assyrian, sir?
only in Assyrian. So the what is it? The Paleo Hebrew, the original Hebrew. Let me address that right after. So the Paleo, right? And Lord willing, once this book come in, I'll be able to break this down a little bit more in detail. But I don't want to go too deep into it without the source, right? But so to answer your question, only in the Assyrian do you have these changes at the end of the word, right? So I'm going to put it up here real quick. So you got this comes at the end. Everything on the bottom comes at the end. Now the Paleo, it's very simple because again, like as we talked over past classes, let me see. As we talked over past classes, these are just pictographs, right? So the ancient Hebrew, you got the cow head, right? The ba, floor plan of a house. You got the da, door, the front of a tent, or you know what I'm saying, which would be the door nowadays. Pictographs, right? So as the language, at first, when we first started writing Hebrew, it was like very detailed. Like the now, or in the ancient Paleo, looks like, you know what I'm saying, it's just a simple triangle with 2 horns, right? But back in, you know what I'm saying, when the language was first established, it was like a little bit more in detail. It was like you were kind of drawing, right? So just a rough, you know what I'm saying, I'm no artist, you know what I'm saying? Never mind, that's all different stuff. But at first, you know what I'm saying, the looked a little bit more drawn out, right? So as the language evolved, it got a little bit like when you were trying to write things quickly, or you know what I'm saying, say things quickly, it got a little bit impractical. But it became more practical to just do it like this, you know what I'm saying? So it evolved for practicality because we're practical people. So over time, it started to evolve. So this is the last approved version of the Hebrew, the ancient Hebrew, right? So it went from, you know what I'm saying, detail to, you know what I'm saying, just a bang, bang, bang. Or cow's head, a lot, right? But then we went to the Assyrian, you know what I'm saying? We went to the Assyrian captivity, I believe, in 733 BC. Under the Assyrians, right? We assimilated to their culture, and now Well, let me not get too deep into it until I got the source. I don't want to just go off the top of my head. I want to get a source. But that source will be here next class, so I'll be able to answer that question, or I'll be able to go into it a little. I'll be able to break it down a little bit deeper next class. But looking at the Assyrian, right? These are biggest takeaway is 5 characters. Ka, Ma, Na, Pa, Taza have a different character for coming at the end. You know what I'm saying? We'll break down why, you know what I'm saying, next week, but these are the 5 characters, right? Keep an eye out for it. So when you see it at the end, when you start to read the Hebrew, you'll be like, okay, you'll see a word at the end, and then you'll be able to be a little bit more, you'll be mindful of it. You're like, okay, is this a, you know what I'm saying, what is this? Does this have a character change at the end? Does this, and then, you know what I'm saying, most words, or most of the characters don't, right? The rest of the characters don't. But you'll be able to just keep these things in mind as you're reading. And then eventually, like after this class, you know what I'm saying, maybe a little bit tedious right now as we're going over it, maybe a little bit tedious, but I'm not asleep. Okay, most time first. But as you go through it, you know what I'm saying, it might be a little bit tedious at first, but you know what I'm saying, you go through it after this class, I guarantee you these things are going to be in your head as you're reading it, and then it's just going to be second nature. And that's the whole goal. You want our culture to be second nature. Or, yeah. It want to be first nature, but you know what I'm saying, we in hell, we in captivity right now, so we are taking it back. You know what I'm saying, we want it to be as natural as possible, right? So, moving on to the next, right? So we got not too many. This will probably be the. So I want to do this real quick. So we got, and then we got this joint, and then we got. These three characters, right? These might trip you up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Want to give it a shot? Anybody in the class? Anybody online? Want to give it a shot? And I know it's a delay online. If you got the answer, go ahead and put it in the chat anyway. You know what I'm saying? If you right, you right. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no thing. It's just, you know what I'm saying, just giving it that shot. You know what I'm saying? Be trying to, you know what I'm saying, point out these, you know what I'm saying, just these differences and all of that. But I'm saying, if anybody wants to give it a shot in the class, identifying these three right here. Let me see if my handwriting is acceptable.
The last one was different.
Okay, most on Christ, because I sure was I put 2 and 2 together, man. I was frustrated myself. I was like, ooh. Let me see if that's a little bit more.
That's the Android.
Yeah. It's a lock, yeah. What's good, sis? A little bit with slacking. I'm right, most on Christ. So we got the side. Okay, y'all brothers are studying. I see y'all. Okay, so we got Sa and we got a Ma right here. What's the one in the middle? I'm right. Now, here's the.
That's the
The end.
that's the end though, right?
Which one?
The one
The middle. That's the one at the. You said that's the one at the end.
in the middle. The one in the middle.
Right.
It goes to the end.
Right. Is that? You sure about that?
That's what we both think.
You sure? Okay, most likely. I was trying to scare y'all again, but no. Exactly right. So this is the one at the end. Is the one at the beginning, right?
Okay. So it's not an actual word?
Yeah, it's not a word, right?
No, it's not a word. It's just these are just characters. Yeah, nothing that I put up here. And if I put a word up here, I'll tell you. I'll tell you if it's a word. But nothing I put up here, unless I made that distinction, has been a word. It's just characters that look similar. So inside my mind is nothing. But okay, so we got Sa, Ma at the end, and the Ma at the beginning. So how do we know that this is a Sa and not a Ma, right? Well, because y'all didn't. I tried to trip y'all up. Y'all wasn't tripped up. So why wasn't y'all tripped up? Why was it so easy? Right? Huh?
It's a little different to it.
Right. What's the difference? Right.
One's like an oval, and one's a circle.
Right. So which one's
which one's the Ma?
Right.
It's open.
Right.
Open. Yeah,
it's open and it's most high Christ. So it's got a. Ooh, it's going crazy. So it's got that opening, and this is closed. Okay. Now this is closed. So with these two being closed, how do we know that this is a Sa, not a Ma? And I don't want to give you no hints. Yeah, y'all live too on it, so I ain't gonna give y'all no hints. So how do we know, right? That's a Sa and that's a Ma. Good.
Because one is a square and one is like a circle.
Right. It's you know what I'm saying? It's easy. You got the square, and then this one's rounded. So it's just easy. We just gotta you know what I'm saying? If we run into anything that discourages us a little bit, and I'm just to give the personal story. When I was first looking at the Hebrew, it was a lot of these little things that discouraged me. I was just like, this look a little bit too similar. So that's why, you know what I'm saying, I was saying at the beginning of when we first started Lashawan Qadash class, that we're gonna have to practice writing these things. Because at first it's gonna feel like we're drawing it because we've never done it before. Our hands aren't used to writing Hebrew. And our hands are definitely not used to writing the correct way from right to left. We write from left to right in the English. So as we write, and you know what I'm saying, essentially in the beginning it'll be drawing. As we, you know what I'm saying, draw these characters and get used to it, then it'll be certain things that should stand out to us if we're practicing. And as you practice more, you'll be like, you know what I'm saying, these things will become less discouraging. So let's see, make sure ain't nothing online. And again, the water to every brother and sisters online that's you know what I'm saying, participating and hanging tough with us. You know what I'm saying? I know it's easy to, you know what I'm saying, pay attention in class. Well, I'm gonna say it's easier because, you know, it's easier to pay attention in class when you're here, when you're present, and when you hear, you know what I'm saying, when you see the tools, you see the priests and everything here. But then when you're at home in the comfort of your bed, you know what I'm saying, or especially, you know what I'm saying, like the sister under slavery, it's hard, especially, you know what I'm saying, to stay up in class. Because, you know what I'm saying, you got responsibilities, duties might come up. Or when you're at home, you just want to, you know what I'm saying, it's easy to, you know what I'm saying, to check in. Put your check in, hey, shalom, such and such, checking in out of such and such. And then close the laptop and then go and, you know what I'm saying, go and watch Netflix, you know what I'm saying, or, you know what I'm saying, whatever we do in after you. So again, you know what I'm saying, all the brothers and sisters that's online, hanging tough, you know what I'm saying, most high in Christ, most high in Christ. And we also get that procrastination demon on us too. Like, I know sometimes, I ain't gonna lie, it happens to the best of us, man. You in class, online, but you at home, so you like, man, you know, I know class is live right now, but man, this new series came out on Netflix, or, you know, Hulu, they just dropped this new season of such and such. So, you know what I'm saying? Let me catch this real fast before, you know what I'm saying, I go to sleep. Then, you know what I'm saying? I can always rewind it and turn it back on later. And then, you know what I'm saying, you end up, before you know it, you got 3-4 classes where you just said, well, I'll just go back and watch it later. Now you 3-4 classes, 3-4 weeks behind. You know what I'm saying? So I know that procrastination demon can easily jump on us, you know what I'm saying, when we at home. So again, brothers and sisters online that's continuing to participate and endure, you know what I'm saying, Most High in Christ. So before we get up out of here, I'm not gonna hold y'all too much longer. No brothers wanna you know what I'm saying, catch that new season of Stranger Things and whatever. I was just talking trash. Most High in Christ. Oh yeah, I already know. Yeah, Most High in Christ. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Most High in Christ to y'all brothers and sisters who still here, hanging in there. I ain't gonna lie. Myself, me personally, I'm talking about myself. I ain't trying to single nobody out. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about myself. When I'm at home, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's easy to just, you know, close that laptop and be like, okay, I'll watch it later. And then before you know it, you 3 or 4 weeks behind, and now you got to binge watch. How we binge watch Netflix. Now we got to try to binge watch, you know what I'm saying, classes and all of that. So I'm talking about myself. I just want to be clear. I ain't trying to single out nobody. Love y'all sisters. Love y'all brothers. We out. So last thing, right? Before we get on about. So we got. This is the one, right? So, what are we looking at right now? Right? Let me give you a second. I'm gonna write it down a little bit lower so the brothers and sisters online can see it a little bit more clearly. So we got this joint right here, whatever that is. Okay, so anybody online want to give it a shot? Anybody in the class? I'll give it a second. Catch this red bull real fast. All right. Anybody want to give it a shot? Trying to figure out what these are.
The first one's high.
Okay. You sure? Okay. You sure? Final answer?
Johnson.
Okay, what's the second one though?
Tazab.
Okay. Most High Christ, you're absolutely correct. I didn't get my poker face together. So that's an I and that's a Tazab, right? Okay, so which Tazab are we looking at?
Ooh, that's beginning.
Okay, Most High Christ. And then, okay, so this is the beginning, and then you got at the end. That's what the Tazab would look like. Or, let me see. If you got that iPhone, you know what I'm saying, it's going to look a little bit more like, right. So, like, let me check. Right, so this is going to be at the end, right? Now, this looks like a what? All three of these, they look like a what? A Y, right? Your precious English Y. I ain't gonna get back into it. We already know the, you know what I'm saying, your preference is a culture vulture. But now, how were you able to so confidently distinguish the I from the Tazah?
Because it's like a Z almost. That's
Oh, the Tazah?
Go from one side to the other.
Right. So if you look at it from, you know what I'm saying, the notes or the diagram or Bible Hub, it'll have that. Let's see if I can make this a little bit darker. So it'll come down, and then it'll have that platform at the bottom, just like a Z, like you said. Whereas, and then this is where writing it down and practicing the penmanship helps you identify, because you look at this right here, and I would say this looks like the Tazah, but if you flipped it, kind of. I don't know if, yeah, and then like, so like, okay, so let me give you this real quick. So how I was, the Tazah at the end is, you know what I'm saying, that's self-explanatory, right? So I can erase that. Okay, so you got, this is what I was saying in the beginning, where when you first writing it, like, you know what I'm saying, be like children, right? So like, I don't know if you remember this.
Right.
You got the dotted line, and then you trace, at first you trace the dotted line, and then like in the kindergarten or whatever, they tell you how to trace it. So everybody's penmanship is a little bit different, but overall, it's like you write an A, your person's A, like, because you, or some people do that, but it's the same, you know what I'm saying, it's the same thing, right? Because there's a certain way that you go about writing a character. Like, you don't do this. Like, I've never seen, maybe some people do. Because I know when I was in school, I had some weird handwriting. So, but I don't know nobody who does this. Like there's a specific flow of how you're writing. And that's the same with the Hebrew. So, like, once you keep that repetition up, like, okay, so you write the ah, right? So I'm gonna go to the Hebrew, right? So you got the ah, and then you write it over. It becomes a flow. You boom, 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 and it's like it becomes a flow, right? So when you're first writing, when you come up into like characters like this, which look similar, you have to find that flow. Like, so with the I, this is what I would personally do. I'm not saying this is the right way or this is the, you know what I'm saying, how you got to do it, but this is, there's a certain flow of how you write it. So like the I, you would make your platform and then connect it there. Whereas the Tazah, you would make it the opposite way and then connect it a little bit higher up. Like the I, let me actually do this. The I, it kind of curves into the base, right? Whereas the Tazah, you create the base, and then there's a platform at the bottom, and then you put that up top, right? But that's just something that you would have to, you know what I'm saying? You just have to practice. You just have to practice writing it, and then you'll start to see, like, oh, and then you'll get your own flow. So it doesn't matter how you write it, as long as your brothers and sisters can understand it. So, but, you know what I'm saying? This is why practice, just practicing on your own time and at home is so important, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? This ain't no slavery. This ain't no, you know what I'm saying? This ain't, you know what I'm saying, our oppressive school system. So I don't, you know what I'm saying, I ain't gonna give, you know what I'm saying, no homework or nothing like that, or like try to put nothing on nobody. But I do urge my brothers and sisters to practice these things at home, so that these things, like these things that these similarities that might confuse you at first, it becomes, you know what I'm saying, it becomes not a problem, right? So I encourage brothers and sisters to be practicing at home, to be opening these tools. I'm gonna put them on the board again, just before we get up out of here. So we talked about last week. We got the Bible. We got the Bible dictionary. Dictionary. You got the Strong's Bible dictionary, and then you got the Strong's concordance. Concordance. The Strong's concordance, and then you got Bible Hub, and then here's another one. I'm gonna give you one more Salakia, before we get up out of here. Because when you're looking up Hebrew words and you really like to learn the language, you want to have you want to have 2 to 3 sources at least to be able to compare. So like, okay, this is translated like this here. How is it translated here? And how is it translated here? 9 times out of 10 it's going to be translated the same, but you still want to have those resources so that you can compare and so that you can, because some words like for example, the Strong's Concordance. Well, let me give you this last source. So we got the Hebrew, Greek, interlinear. So you got the Hebrew, Greek, interlinear, and we're going to show you. It's something like Bible Hub, but it'll show the so you got the Strong's the Strong's Concordance that we talked about last week, where you could go search up a word, or you can go, if you got the physical copy, which we'll have here next week as well. You go through the concordance, find the root word, or you'll go through the scripture, find the concordance code, and you'll either look up that concordance code or you'll click on it if you're on your phone, and it'll give you the root. So if it'll say like okay, for example, in Leviticus chapter 23 verse 1, and it says, and Moses, or the Most High spoke to Moses like it. It'll say Wayadabar. That'll be the word that's used in the scriptures. Wayadabar. That'll be the phrase. And the Lord spake Wayadabar Yahweh. But the root word in that phrase is the bar. So if you go to your concordance, it'll give you that root, the concordance code for that root word. So that's good for that, to find roots. But if you want to understand what a phrase means, then the Hebrew, Greek, interlinear, Bible Hub, those are going to be the ones that you want to look at to understand and read the phrase and how it's put together and get that more detailed breakdown. Right. So I encourage brothers and sisters to get all 4 of these and as many sources as you can. Of course, you know what I'm saying, talk to your camp leader, the scholars, the captains, about what sources are approved and what's not. But I recommend getting these. Slacky, sis, you have something?
Is the Hebrew, Greek, interlinear actual book?
I'm sure there's a physical book that you can get. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it on the marketplace right just before we get it back here. Okay, so it's called the Hebrew Greek Interlinear Bible. And it'll look like this. It'll just Oh yes, it's an app. I'm sure I would have to look and I would have to do that research and get back to you.
I was looking up the book on Amazon.
See.
Hebrew, Greek, and English. So.
Right, yeah. So it does have the English translation as well. So it could be, but here's the thing. I would let me get back to you and I'll have an answer because I don't want nobody to waste their money because I've I've ordered clean books and then it'll get to my house and I'm thinking I got some, I got the breakdown, then I crack the book open and it's garbage. I spent $30 on trash. I could have, in these times, you could put that in your tank. So I'm going to ask the questions, come back next week, and I'll have the Bible dictionary, the concordance. Bible Hub is an app, and then I'll see about the interlinear. I'm sure it is, but we just got to figure out which one.
Awesome.
All right, with that, if there ain't any more questions, comments, or anything, we're going to end it right there. The water to all the brothers and sisters that endured in class, physically and online. Give yourselves a hand, more time, Christ. I know it's not the, it's not the easiest thing to, be diligent about, our culture and stay in class constantly when there's classes all over the country, all over the world. But, most high in Christ. With that, Shalom, Yahweh, Bashim, Yahweh, Shabbat, to all the brothers, Yahweh, Shemal, Athah, Bashim, Yahweh, Shad, all the sisters.